In this lesson, we'll learn how to move, scale, and clone keys from X's Trackbar. To move a keyframe, we'd simply select it with the left mouse button and drag it wherever we'd like it to lie in time. What's nice is that if we look underneath the keyframe on the status bar, Max allows us to basically see where we are moving our key from, where we're moving the key to, and how many frames we've offset the key from its original position. So that's a pretty nice indicator. Now, what's nice is that we can essentially get really detailed with what types of keys we're moving on the trackbar. Let's say if we didn't want to move each transform key, but let's say just our position keys. Well, we can right-click on the trackbar, go to Filter, and choose Current Transform. Now, of course, no keys will be shown because we have no transform tool active. But if we were to go to our move tool, pressing the W key on our keyboard or choosing it from the main toolbar and click our object once again, notice now we see only our position keys. So if I were to hit play so you can see the animation, here's how it looks originally. And if we were to select the keys and let's say drag them down 10 frames, we've delayed the position slightly, and we can definitely notice that change. So that's how we can move keys. I'll go ahead and undo back the move. I'll right click and show all of our keys. Now let's go ahead and take a look at another way we can move keys, and this way will actually allow us to scale keys as well. It's using the selection range. So first we'll deselect the keys. We can do that by just clicking on the trackbar. And then we can right click, go to configure, and choose show select range. Now notice we have this extra space underneath our trackbar. And once we actually select keys, that's when we see our selection range. Moving the middle area allows us to slide our keys in time. And moving the ends will allow us to scale keys in time. So if we were to hit play, here's the update. Great. So that's how we can move and scale keys. Now I'm going to go ahead and undo back to where the animation was before, and I'll turn off the selection range. We'll actually be taking a look at that in other areas within Max a little bit later on in the training, of course. Now, let's go ahead and discuss cloning keys. We can do that a number of ways. Selecting a key, we can hold down Shift and left mouse button, click and drag from the key. And notice now we have a key sharing the same value of where we've cloned from. Another way we can do something similar, if I were to right click and delete this key, is to, from the key on 25, just hold down Shift on the time slider and drag with the left mouse button, and notice we have this dialog that appears. The first parameter tells us where we would like to clone from, the second where we would like to clone to, and then we also have the option of creating multiple transform keys, position, rotation, and scale. Being that we're just working with this rotate key on 25, I'll go ahead and toggle those off. And notice now we have a rotation key. Now, what's nice is that using this method, we don't need to actually use a pre-existing key. So let's say if we were working on a moving hold. I'll delete this key on frame 18. When working with moving holds, you don't really want to use the same type of key. You don't want to clone the same type of key. You'd instead want to at least clone near the key. And this way, you can still have a little bit of movement in your hold, so that the movement looks natural. Well, with that being the case, I'll go to frame 24 instead, and we can drag to frame 18 once again. And notice we can still have our source time be a frame that doesn't have a keyframe, but it will hold the value that is on frame 24. So if we were to hit OK, we can see a change in our ship. Great. So those moving holds are very important in animation. If we don't have them, especially for fast actions, the audience can miss the idea of our animation, and if that's the case, they're going to be pretty upset and probably demand their tickets back, and we don't want that at all. So let's make sure we add those moving holds, and we've learned a way how we can create that very quickly. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a few more ways we can clone keys. Okay, I'll go ahead and delete that key once again on 18. The other way is similar to what we did when we shift and drag the time slider. Instead, we can hold down the right mouse button and drag, and notice we have the same dialog appear. But now, looking at a slightly different way would actually be using set key mode. If we were to toggle that on and right mouse button, click and drag the time slider, notice how there's no update of the animation at all. So this can actually be a great way to store moving hold type of keys. Because if I wanted to, I can left mouse button drag to, let's say, about frame 24 once again, and then right click and drag, and notice we're going to be able to take that same value from 24 because there's no movement of our ship. So I'll go ahead and once again just drag. And now, notice if we were to go to key filters and toggle everything off except for rotation, and then use the big key button to set a key, we have created the same effect. So those are several ways to clone keyframes. We've also discussed a few ways we can move keys and also how to scale keys within Max.